Welcome to a review of the Commodore 64 Classic Robots of Dawn. Now, they didn't come any better than this back in the day. You got to remember, this was in Australia where we only had the tape decks, none of that fancy schmancy Infocom stuff. There was none of that. There was no magnetic scrolls, they were not even around. Level 9 were thereabouts, but again, they're fancy disc-based games. We didn't have any time for that stuff in Australia. More to the point, we didn't have the money to buy a disk drive, damn it, you disk drive gold-plated folk. Probably had soda streams as well. But anyway, yes, I was envious of you. But nevertheless, we had some stuff with fancy vocabularies and very, very good adventuring awaiting us in EPYX's classic Robots of Dawn. So let's have a chat about it. You can see on the screen here that I am Lige Bailey. I'm Earth's greatest living detective. So you've got to be happy with that, right? There's going to be a world called Aurora that's waiting for me, and I'm going to get to interview suspects in a murder. So Dr. Falstaff is dead, as you can see on the screen here. And there's lots to like in this game. There's lots to like, lots to keep you adventuring, and I'm going to show you around some of the locations in this adventure, and it's really good fun as well. Okay, first thing you notice is the nice colouring. So this was by John Luep from EPYX Software. He did a great job of adapting Isaac Asimov's book, Robots of Dawn, and yeah, I like the colours. I like the fact you got some yellow setting the scene and then some purple telling me what's going on and a kind of pink cursor ready for me to do some adventuring. So I'm going to have a look around and can see that there's a trimensional viewer is here. How about that? Let's use it. So here we go. Oh, yes, as you can see, fantastic vocabulary here. No, that's my mistake. I deleted the question mark. Off to a flyer. All right, a robot moves out of the niche in the wall and says, "Whom do you wish to contact?" So there's 5 suspects in this game that you can interview, and while you can use this trimensional viewer while you're in Dr. Falstaff's house, you're going to have to get in the airfoil and go and visit some of these folk as well, because it's just how it is. They're not very nice, some of them, and yeah, it's solving the mystery. Now, this came with a whole heap of stuff. There was like a kit, if you will, of a dossier of all of the suspects and that type of thing. So that's all online if you want to go and hunt it out, tell you about who the suspects are. But I'm going to talk about them quickly. One is Gladiator, who you as Lige Bailey have worked with before. So I want to talk to Gladiator. So I tell the robot that. The robot does its stuff, and then Gladiator appears. She says, "Hello, Elijah. I had heard you were coming to Aurora, so we are off and racing." I'm interviewing the suspects. Now, the other suspects that you're going to come across, they're not all as friendly as Gladiator. Some of them won't even talk to you, so you're going to have to find ways of hunting them down. Now, one of the really cool things that John Lewis put into this game was a random element. So of the 5 suspects, it can be any 4 of them. And there's only little subtle hints in the dialogue that differ that tell you who's who. Great little game, this by EPYX. Look at this. Check out this vocabulary. Instead of just going, say hello, right? Hello, Colossal Cave. And all you adventure game schmuck programmers back in the day giving us nothing to work with. This vocabulary is fancy. Well, look at this. Gladiator. Did Amadiro have motive? I mean, talk about sophisticated. She's answering now. Amadiro, strongest political adversary. Ooh. The suspense. So, again, different colours in the text for the answers to the questions, to the text describing the scenes. It's a nice little touch. Now, the Apple did not get this because, 1, apples are rubbish, and 2, apples just had a really simplistic colour scheme. And I can't even forgive Karateka, which was an Apple IIe game back in the day. But anyway, this looked like rubbish on the Apple. So the Commodore 64 is a great way to play it because you get the nice colours. All right, now I can also go, instead of typing the same thing, Gladiator already knows I'm addressing her. I can go, "Tell me about him." So she'll know I'm talking about Amadiro. He's the leader of the Globalist Party. How about that? Again, nice vocabulary, just nicely worked out. These are all the characters from the Isaac Asimov book as well. So if you like sci-fi, I recommend them all. There's 4 in the series. Naked Sun, Caves of Steel, Robots of Dawn was the 3rd in the series, and Robots and Empire was the last of those books. And so this does have the 3 laws of robotics, which Asimov, of course, came up with in the early 40s in one of his short stories. And all that stuff's pretty cool. Robots can't harm humans, etc., etc., etc. So I encourage you to have a look at that, because the game pays homage to those laws of robotics and also to the world painted in Robots of Dawn. So Amadero's a nasty, by the way. Let's ask about somebody else now. Did Santirix Gremionis is another character in the game. You don't need a question mark, so. Oh, I got that wrong. Santirix. Santirix have opportunity. No, Gremionis had come to visit me that evening. Ooh la la! We'd been together for some time when Daniil carried Dr. Falstaff's body. So there you go, hey? So, you've met some of the characters now. You've met Gladia. You've met Amadero, the likely suspect. There's also Santirix Gremionis, who likes Gladia, and apparently Gladia doesn't mind him either. And Vasilia is the other suspect, along with your robot friend Daniil, who helps you out as a detective. Even he is not above suspicion. So I might ask about Vasilia. Vasilia is the daughter of Dr. Falstaff in this story, and Gladia is the surrogate daughter. So a little bit of friction between those two. So did Vasilia have motive? She's Dr. Falstaff's daughter, and I know that there were some bad feelings on her part towards her father. So there you go. So now we're starting to build up a little bit of evidence. Now, I've already made a fatal mistake in this game, absolutely fatal, but you're going to have to learn from your experiences for what works and what doesn't work in Robots of Dawn. That's just part of the learning curve. But it's not obtuse, and it doesn't punish you for silly things, but I do encourage you to save your game regularly. So we're starting to paint a picture. You've met Vasilia, you've met Santirix, you've met Amadero, or at least you've heard about them, and of course we're talking to Gladia right now. Now let's ask her something like, did you have motive? She pouts indignantly, and you see this is also the end of the interview now, so she's not very happy. Come see me in person, I'll be waiting. Easier said than done. You're going to have to find the right stuff to be able to travel to Gladia. She's not far away. So this game's pretty compact in terms of locations. There are only 79 locations in this adventure game. So pretty compact. You don't really need to map it, but if you wanted to, you could. But you probably don't need to map it out. As you can see, I'm achieving a lot just in the one location. Now, we might interview next another suspect. So let's use viewer again. I'll have a look around first. Let's have a look east. You're an east-west hallway. There are doors north and south. So typical sort of adventure game. Let's go north. There's a chair and a time band here. Take band. Use band. Look band. Okay. The band tells you what time it is anyway in Aurora speak. And yeah, we don't need to worry about it too much, but you can keep a track on things here as we venture around. Now back with the transdimensional viewer as we trudge around Falstaff's house and see what's going down. We're going to use the viewer again. We're going to talk to Vasilia now, the daughter who doesn't like Dr. Falstaff, and now he's dead, hey? Let's put 2 and 2 together, and what do we get? No, never assume in this game, because again, the random element means it could be any one of these characters. So we want to talk to Vasilia this time. All right. Now, this is a bit of a threshold guardian, as I would use in screenplay terms. So she's not going to talk to me until she finds out what the communication regards. So give the wrong answer, guess what? She's not going to talk to you. Give the right answer and she will talk to you. I'll try not to do too many spoilers because you might want to hunt down this Commodore 64 Classic for yourself and play it. And who could blame you? It's tops, as you've already seen by this vocabulary. So I'm going to say this conversation is about Santirics. So Vasilia is prepared to talk to me now. Let's make this brief, Earthman. Ask your questions. So she's pretty curt already with me. Thanks, Vasilia. Okay, so now we can ask her the various questions that we want. Again, we're trying to build a case. That's what it's all about. Now, I mentioned fatal mistakes. So there's a recording device floating around. So what I should have done was gone to the location where it sits. I should have got the recording device, and I should have started playing, activating the recording device so I could record Vasilia now. But I didn't do that. So I've only got hearsay. I don't have evidence to present to the chairman at the end. Because basically, as you build this case, you're going to have to present to the chairman, this time is your enemy. By the way, you've only got so many moves. And I've kind of stuffed things up here just to show you the game because I don't have the recording. But Vasilia is a tricky one. Now let's ask her some questions. So tell me about yourself. I am a roboticist. My work occupies most of my time and attention. Now, if you think my novel, The Case of the Notorious Roboticist, was influenced by Asimov and Robots of Dawn and this game, you're absolutely right. I've got a very nasty roboticist in it, and she's probably got some similarities to Vasilia. So I was very influenced by Asimov's work. So again, I like the vocabulary here. So tell me about yourself, and it's just, I like it. So let's go. So she doesn't like Gladia. Did Gladia have motive? So that's surrogate sister we were talking to before. Not unless she finally realised that I did, that Dr. Falstaff is blah, 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 as you can read. So she's not very happy. She's not very happy here. So now I can just go, did you? Now she already knows I'm talking about motive because I used it in the previous sentence. Again, smart vocabulary. I mean, get that into your Infocom. Hey, did you have that going on in Suspect and Moon Mist? Yeah, all right. They did actually, and they had some very sophisticated parser in those games. I really like Moon Mist, by the way. Maybe one day I'll review it. But anyway, I was poor and only had a tape drive, so this is what I had, and it was tops. Okay, so did you? And she's going to respond to that. We were not on the best of terms, but I had no reason to wish Falstaff dead. Did Amadiro. So I'm just working on motive at the moment. Who had motive? Did Amadiro. Ooh, her eyes flash angrily. Ooh, she says he's one of the greatest. He had nothing to gain from Falstaff's death. But in fact, he had lots to gain from it, as you will learn later in the game. But again, doesn't mean he did it. Lots of red herrings in here, lots of clues, and how good is this vocabulary? So, very, very fancy. Did Santirics. I believe the fool was in love. How about that, eh? He's no murderer. Now, she's had it with me. So bear in mind, I talked about time being an obstacle in this adventure game. There are other things in this adventure game that are not your friend as well. So you're only going to get so many questions, and you've got to have the right stuff. You've got to have the recording device activated when you're talking to Vasilia, whether it's in person or whether it's via the transdimensional viewer. Now, as you'll see, you can't contact everyone. Like, check this out. Use viewer. So I want to talk to Amadiro. Now, the robot's going to call him up, and look at this. Amadiro's robot says he's very busy. I will tell him that Mr. Bailey called. So, obstacle. He's not going to talk to you. So you're going to have to find a way to get in touch with him and do that. So, a very nice little touch right there in Robots of Dawn. So that there are lots of obstacles. All right, we might just start wandering around a little bit more. Look, the location descriptions are adequate. When they're important, they'll have a more important sort of description going to them. If they're not that important, then there'll be less stuff for you to look at. So we're just travelling through the house at the moment. Our contact strip is here, so this is to call the lift. Now, the lift gets you down to the airfoil, which is your means of travelling around Robots of Dawn. They really do sort of talk it up in terms of the describing the adventure game, they talk about the locations and whatnot, but there really aren't that many. But still, what's here is well done, and it's all that you need. You're basically just going to be not trudging around Aurora much, but more just inside people's homes. But again, it captures the atmosphere of the book. It's got a lot of charm. It's well written. There's no typos in it, and I like the use of the colours. And I love the vocabulary because I hadn't played anything back in 1984 when this came out that had anything like this depth in terms of interviewing all of these suspects and building your case. So I'm not going to use the contact strip because I want to get Daniil, who is my robot friend. So let's go get him. So in this location now, Falstaff's workshop, Psychic Probe is here and Daniil is here. So let's go. That didn't work. Did work in games about this time like Mind Shadow, which I want to cover another time for you. But still, I was impressed with the vocabulary of asking suspects for stuff. We just have to say take probe to get that Psychic Probe. Daniil is my friend, so I can quiz Daniil if I want. Daniil, did you have motive? Of course he didn't, he's going to say. Friend Elijah. So he reminds you what the first law of robotics is. Very true to Asimov. John Liep, you really outdid yourself here. I mean, I know you went on to do Summer Games 2, California Games, and some absolutely good stuff. I forgive you for Caveman Olympics. It wasn't your finest moment, but hey, look, we've all done things we're not proud of, and it wasn't that bad in your defence. But this game was when you consider that this guy wasn't known for doing adventure games and he's just had a go at one, my goodness, did he chuck something good onto the Commodore 64 landscape. What a gem. And again, just this relationship you have with Daniil, which is a really big part of Asimov's books, it's really well captured in this game, and it's nice interactions you're going to have. So now I can ask Daniil about the others too. So did Vasilia have motive? So there we go. Ooh, ill feelings. There we go. Relationship between Dr. Falstaff and Vasilia was not good. Now I can go, did she have means? I can use she because Daniil knows who I'm talking about because I mentioned Vasilia in the last question. Again, very, very subtle but clever. Did she have means? No more than anyone else. Thanks, Daniil. Thanks for nothing, mate. All right. Did she have opportunity? Not that I know of. So now that Daniil is with you, let's just look to get our location. Daniil is here. Everywhere I go now, let's go south. Daniil is here. He's just going to follow me now like a bloodhound. I don't know how you get rid of him. But I suppose you don't want to. But here's the problem. I talked to Vasilia earlier. Vasilia does not like robots, even though she's a roboticist. She doesn't trust Daniil, probably because Dr. Falstaff made Daniil, this humaniform robot. So, problem. If you try to talk to Vasilia with Daniil present, guess what? She's not going to answer any of your questions. So you are in strife right there. So you've got to get what you need from Vasilia. You've got to capture it using the recording device before you bring Daniil into the game. That's not a spoiler. That's just a hint to save you getting stuck later on. Okie dokie. So Daniil is with us. So we're going to use the strip now. Use strip. Oh, okay. Maybe it's touch strip. There is a slight hum to the east. So now we've got an elevator. The parser is very pedantic. It does want you to use the precise words outside of the interview dialogue, but that's okay. You soon get used to it. There is a small elevator. There's a door to the west. Daniil is here. So now we've entered the elevator, we're going to exit the elevator. So there's an airfoil here. This is the vehicle that gets you around the traps. Now I could go and visit Gladio if I wanted to. She's a short walk. I don't need the airfoil for that. You need the nose filters to do that, and you need to be wearing them, by the way, or the outdoors will overwhelm you, because just like COVID, I suppose, where we got used to being indoors all the time, in this new world with Aurora, everyone's just used to being indoors, and Elijah as an Earthman is used to being indoors as well, so that's just the new norm. People don't interact with one another. This is just like the real world. Everybody just keeps to themselves. Such a shame, but that's the world we live in. Okay, so let's enter airfoil. So this is the vehicle. So now we get some nice text again. Green sets the scene. What can I see in blue? Robot says, where do you wish to go? So we might go and talk to Santirix next. Let's go and visit him, eh? Now, if I was to say Amadiro, by the way, they don't know where Amadiro is, so you have to find out and then ask to go to that location. Little obstacle again, and once you get there, you're going to need a certain object. Typical of adventure games, get object A from location 1, take it to a different location, use said object, solve puzzle, progress to a new scene. That's how these games worked. This one is no exception, but still really well done. Okay, so we've arrived. So let's exit airfoil. You are to the south of a small establishment. Daniil is here. Daniil is always here. Okay, so now we are chatting to Santirix. So let's not muck around, right? We don't need small talk. We don't need, hi Santirix, how are you? Can I have a cucumber sandwich? We don't need any of that jargon. Let's just get straight into the heart of this adventure and try to solve it. Santirix, did Vasilia have motive? So here we go. You can read it. I'm not going to read these out to you verbatim. You've got eyes. They're not painted on. So see what you think. Naturally, she harbours some resentment toward him. Very good. Did you? No, I would never consider killing anyone. That's what they all say, mate. All right, now what else should we do? Now, I can actually get Daniil to replay things. Obviously, there's no need, but I could go, now, Daniil, replay Santirix, did Vasilia have motive? And Daniil, because he's with me and he's a robot with that robotic memory of his, has written it into his SD card, whatever he has, and he's just replayed it for me. Very, very handy. And keep notes, because when you eventually present to the chairman, you're ready to make the accusation, then you're going to need to use Daniil and your recording device, if found in a different location, to replay the facts, to build your case, to show the chairman, to convince him that suspect X did the crime. And you're also going to need to pick up some tangible evidence along the way. Your recordings alone are not enough. There's evidence scattered around the game, and that will depend on who did it. Different pieces of evidence in different locations, but you're going to have to present that evidence as well. I mean, talk about ahead of its time. I mean, what was out in 1984? Were we playing Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Pong, all of these simplistic but nevertheless classic, absolute classics. I love Pac-Man. I've got a soft spot for Pac-Man and Spaceys, of course. But Colossal Cave was around, but there wasn't that much else in 1984. I'm saying that this really lets you go deep with interrogating suspects and getting a hold of the facts and then having to present to the chairman. Now, what else do we want to ask Santirix? Let's ask about Gladia, because Gladia said that Santirix was with her, so no opportunity. So let's ask him about that. Hopefully they corroborate each other's stories. I better not say you, because it might think that's Daniil. Santirix, did you have opportunity? There you go, corroborated and saying Gladia. It doesn't mean they're both not conspiracists for some reasons. I shouldn't say conspiracists, that they're not covering each other for nefarious reasons. I mean, that's possible, right? They might indeed have done it. Anyway, I don't know. I don't remember. It's so long ago since I played this, I can't remember who did what. But nevertheless, fantastic little adventure game. This really great little murder mystery that you're in the centre of to solve. And I like the fact that there's globalists and humanists and all that political stuff going around as well. There's also hyperwave screens where you can watch dramas unfold, but also it tells you how you're going on the case, gives you little updates. You just have to wait for time to pass and then watch the hyperwave screen again, and you might find out how they think your case is going on the planet Aurora. Now, what else are we going to ask this clown, this joker, Santirix? Did Vasilia have means? Not that I know of. Did you? Absolutely not. Even if I could have got past the guard robots, which I couldn't, I could have not have gotten my hands on a lethal gas. Again, I'm not using this to plug my own book, but Notorious Roboticist does feature a murder and somebody getting past the robots in the defense of my antagonist, I guess, called Isadora, and a little bit of influence of Robots of Dawn. Certainly I didn't copy anything, but I was heavily influenced by Asimov as a kid, along with lots of other sci-fi robot stuff. Anyway, that's the case of the Notorious Roboticist on Amazon, and it's out as an audio book as well. All right, enough plugging my own stuff. But yes, so we've got, even if I could have gotten past the guard robots, I like that. I like the fact that, you know, he's sort of definitely deflecting. How could have he done this? That just makes me think he did it even more. Alright, so I can go exploring his house, but I don't think I will. I think I'm sort of satisfied I've got what I need there, so we might just head back. So I'm going, oh, yeah, enter airfoil. Let's go talk to Vasilia. Cable car just left. Now you can jump on this cable car, by the way. It will take you to different locations. Now I don't advise you to do it because it's going to slow you down, and it is going to, it's not going to help your case because you're going to suck up or use up all that time, and before you know it, you're going to get tired, you're going to have to sleep, you're going to wake up, and the chairman's going to say, right, Earthman, you've had enough time, give me your answers. And if you haven't got your stuff together, you are in trouble. So just forget about the cable car unless you know, just save your game and then maybe take a scenic ride on it. Anyway, let's go visit Vasilia. Okay, I'm in a workroom. Dr. Vasilia is here. Her hair is blonde and her facial features bear a striking resemblance to Gladia's. Daniil is here. Of course he's here. All right. You like how she remembers stuff. Now you might be saying, hang on, didn't you say she wasn't going to answer any questions? And that's correct. That's just the parser, I guess, jumping to one thing before it gets to the next blocker, before it answers the questions. She will not answer your questions with Daniil present. Another obstacle. So there you have it. Robots of Dawn, I think I've shown you enough. I want to keep these to a max of 30 minutes, and even that's probably too much of me rabbiting on. So I highly recommend this text adventure game by EPYX Software, who gave us other great games like Impossible Mission. Can you solve the mystery? I encourage you not to cheat, not to use hints and look up stuff. It's not that big a game. Just remember, if you restart, it's a fresh case and a different suspect, so you're better off saving your game so you can build the one case. If you've got an original copy of this, you're very lucky because it also contains some fantastic stuff. There's a dossier of suspects with fingerprints in there. There's your little space ticket for the shuttle that you'll be riding on. There's a letter to you. There's some other cool stuff that comes in the case. I love the cover for Robots of Dawn as well, with the lost eyes of Daniil the robot in there. So check it out. If you like Commodore 64 adventure games, they did not come any better than this. I don't remember Zap64 reviewing this. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But nevertheless, it's really worthy of your time. Now, just on Commodore 64s, this is my last plug. I've got a book called Escape from the Commodore 64, and that's about my protagonist Sarah, who's trapped inside a Commodore 64 and has to escape. And I pay homage to over 50 classic games in there. See if you can find them all. All right, that's enough on about my books. But back to this game, Robots of Dawn, Isaac Asimov. Hat tip to John Lewip for doing such a fantastic job of really being respectful to the original data source, but coming up with an innovative, fresh murder mystery adventure for you to solve. I can't recommend this to you highly enough. And if it was getting a review today, it would be a sizzler and giving it about 90% all of the way. Robots of Dawn. Bye for now.